LEGO is selling their new clone Tiny Tank for $160, and on top of the fact that it's crazily overpriced, it's also very notably not a UT-AT. And so that's where this Mod Bricks futuristic anti-gravity artillery set comes in. I actually found it on a website called Blue Bricks, and it was 50 euros plus 35 euros shipping, so 85 euros total, which is about $100 US. So $100, $160. If you remember, this has 813 pieces. This one has 2,071 pieces. Oh my lord. And all shipped to me, this was just $100. So let's see if this knockoff UT-AT is any good. I've been really excited about this one. As soon as I saw, like, some fans sent me links to this website that they had released this set on there, and I was like, that is really interesting. I've got to have it and make a video with it. And I mean, yeah, here it is. The packaging, nothing to write home about. It's a plain brown box with a little wrapper on it, which, I mean, the wrapper is high quality, whatever, but I mean, not what we're really here for, right? All right, fairly simple. Just cut through the tape here, and it looks like we've got a bunch of bags, and they are not numbered. Oh boy, hate not having numbered bags. That is tough to see. No numbered bags means the build is just gonna take a lot longer than it would otherwise. But hey, not as long as it's gonna take LEGO to make a UT-AT, I guess. So let's see where the instructions are. Aha, so right here where we've got the scannable instruction QR code paper. So let's rip that out. We'll scan this up and we will build the set and see if it's any good. All right, we're gonna go ahead and scan our way into this thing. Should take us right to the instruction manual. No, that's a problem. So on their website, I was able to access the instructions as long as I had an account, and so I made one, and now I can see the instructions for the build. Looks like normal custom set instructions to me. I'll report back if there's anything major, but I expect it to be a fairly normal process. Looks like 260 pages, so a lot of building to do. Looks like you're building. Or is he building? Or am I building? I don't know. I don't really want to. If you keep moving your legs like that, you're going to be building. 2,000 pieces and some blood, sweat, and tears later, we've got the finished UT-AT, or the futuristic anti-gravity artillery build. And this thing looks incredible. And for a knockoff set, the part quality on it is really good. A lot of times, knockoffs can have some questionable pieces, and like you can tell that they're really fake feeling, but these ones feel fairly close to LEGO quality. I think looking at them, I can still tell that they aren't real LEGO, but they're pretty close. I think a good way to show this is maybe I put one of the pieces from this build onto there, and you can see the color of light gray doesn't quite match the LEGO light gray color. So it's not quite up to LEGO standards, I would say, but if you have it on its own and it's not right next to something else where you can very easily tell the coloring difference, like, you are gonna have a good time with this set. And before I go any deeper on this UT-AT, I wanted to show it next to a couple of pretty obvious comparison points here. I've got a custom one from Republic Bricks. I don't remember the retail price on that, but it's probably $200 or $300 as a custom LEGO set that's hand sorted and all that, versus the official Republic Juggernaut from LEGO that's $160. And the size difference is startling. And again, this in the middle is about $60 US before shipping. That's an incredible retail price for everything that you're getting there. The downside is that you're not getting minifigures with that one. This one, of course, does include some figures, so there's a difference there. But man, the value for your money is insane when you look at it side by side. You can tell how much the LEGO Star Wars tax is with this Republic Juggernaut when you actually put it next to something from another company. Now, I unfortunately don't still have the alternate build that I did of the turbo tank that made it a UT-AT, but I will say this is a much better UT-AT because it's made to be a UT-AT compared to the alternate build that you could do for the turbo tank, which, by the way, would still cost you the $160 versus like the $60 US that this costs, again, without shipping. So it's just pretty insane. Like, no matter how you break it down, this custom build, even though it's not official LEGO, is a crazy good value to me. Now I'll whisk away the Republic Bricks one, and we'll just throw that off the table, basically. I wish I could, but I need that. And let's dive deeper on this UT-AT, and we'll start at the very front cockpit, which has an incredible design. You can see how intricate they were able to get with the dark red around those translucent windscreens. It just looks great to me. Accessing this section can be quite simple. You can just lift this top panel up and you'll see a crate inside as well as a seat. Very easy access from the top down, but if you need a little more space to fit your hand in or whatever, you can also just pull this whole front section out, kind of like some older ATTE builds. And you pull that section out, and just like that, you have full, easier access to everything here. And of course, we'll be able to take a minifig and place them in. Of course, it feels fitting to use a Galactic Marine to pilot this thing. So we'll sit him in there and we'll see if it actually fits, because I didn't test this yet, but he looks pretty cool in there. I'm a little worried his arms are going to be too wide here, but let's give it a shot. Does it actually work? No, oh my goodness. There you go. The downside of buying a knockoff set, it literally, even though it has a seat for minifigures and looks like it's got antennas for minifigures to hold on to, it literally doesn't allow the minifig to fit inside. That is crazy unfortunate. It looks like, yeah, the interior of it is, I'll just rip all this off here, make it a little bit easier to see. There's like cutouts in there, so the arms could fit in there, but not with these front tiles on. Maybe we got to take these off to allow it to slide in. Let's try it like this now. So now it should fit. So that fits, and then you have to put this back on. My goodness, I've never seen anything quite like that. Now as I look at it too, you can see the top of his head. I'm questioning whether or not the top will actually fit. Maybe we have to lay him back further, but it won't let me. Maybe he goes further forward. That works. Moment of truth, and it does fit. All right. Wow, I'm actually surprised because it was very difficult to get in there. So if you do the full workaround to get a minifig in there, you can have a minifig in there. Off the top of my head, I just cannot remember a time I've had to go through that much trouble to have a minifig pilot its own vehicle. That is crazy. Now, of course, they're not included with the set, so you could look at it from that point of view, but still, I mean, they should be able to fit in without that much trouble. Just below that section, we'll find some nice translucent yellow for lighting at the front of the UTAT. Adds a nice splash of color on the front, I'd say, as well as a small cannon that can be pushed up or pushed down, just a small range of motion there. But yeah, the front section, especially the cockpit, looks great. Obviously, the functionality is not all there the way that it should be, but yeah, as far as maybe for display, that looks perfect to me. And then we've got kind of the side panels. Now, these were a pain to keep attached, and they really still kind of fall apart. Like, watch this piece will fall right off. So yeah, you're gonna have some structural issues with this set. The other one's just completely missing because it also fell off. You're gonna have issues like that. It's unfortunate, but it's a knockoff and it's only like 50 or 60 US dollars. So like, you kind of have to move your expectations down with that. But all things considered, this section looks really good, and they've done a really great job getting it to have as small a gap as possible. And I actually may be able to push that more in. But the problem that I've had is like these pieces will still come off if I push too hard. So I don't want to push too hard to like get that gap to close. But again, it's a pretty small gap and it's not super noticeable. So I do really like that. As I look underneath the bottom of the front section, you'll see some translucent pieces because it's so heavy it couldn't possibly hold up its own weight there. So it does have a little extra support on the front end. So if you push down on this, the whole thing isn't going to collapse, because you can think about how heavy this would be and the feet basically stop here. You're going to need some more support under there, and they do have that. Moving further back, we've got these side cannons, which are super long. You can see they're kind of fun to play with a little bit there. They don't really have much movement otherwise. Like, you can slightly tilt it in, slightly tilt it down, whatever, but like, it's not really supposed to do that, I guess. It's just the way that it's built on hinges there, and the design for it is great. It's also pretty strong, like of course. Just above there, the top section is pretty clean looking with more translucent yellow that matches what we saw on the front for some forward lighting. You've got a good mix of silver color, some dark gray and light gray that's kind of found all throughout the build. It's kind of interesting, in the instruction manual, they point out that it's silver, but only after you put the pieces on. So that was a bit confusing to do as we built, but it was doable. It just takes a little bit of extra thinking. The cannon on top, I think, looks killer. It's got a great design and has some nice color mixed in, a little bit of gold, a little bit of dark red, black, gray, all the main colors of the set otherwise, but it has a slight range of motion. You can move it down and up for like, I don't know, 10 degrees there. Yeah, kind of lame that it can only move that much, and there's no like side to side rotation. So you kind of have what you have there and you just display it like this, and that's it. Obviously no real play functionality like spring-loaded shooters, because it's not an official Lego set. They don't really need to go that far, so they don't. And there's also no like seat for a minifigure like on the custom one from Republic Bricks. You can place the minifig in there. This one, you cannot put a minifig there. I mean, maybe you can have him stand there. I don't know why you would want to do that. Technically, you could do that, okay? But like, that's obviously not what it's made for. Next, we have these little rear turrets. They just move side to side, and I do find that they can very easily pop off, very unfortunately. So that's something that I just noticed as I was building it. They just kept falling off. So that's something you will run into if you actually use this as a playset. But if you use it like I will for display, it literally isn't going to matter. And that's what I would ultimately recommend something like this for, is to buy to display, not to play with or buy it for a kid. Like, why would you do that? I think most people watching this will be buying this to put it on some sort of display or in a mock or something where it's not going to be much of an issue. But if you are concerned about that, there you go. And then finally, we've got the back end design, which uses a light gray version of the Lego revolver, which is pretty cool. Great part usage there. I always think of these as little satchels on the side of the UTAT. I don't know what they are, but they are there and properly represented with a little bit of yellow next to them. And then that leads us, I guess, to the feet before the interior, because the feet are always a problem on the UTAT, at least the UTATs that I've experienced, because they can just fall apart so easily. They'll fall right off. That has been a problem with the Republic Bricks one that I have, and this one is unfortunately going to be no different here. These feet or legs, whatever, repulsors, they will fall apart so easily. And that might have been an exaggerated case, but like if I go to pick the set up, I'll just knock feet off. Like I think I just knocked all the feet on the other side off because I tried to pick it up without lifting it all at the same time. Like look at that. That was just me slightly lifting the set. All of the feet fell off. So that is a problem with this custom UTAT. Again, if you're just gonna put it on a shelf and never touch it, not the biggest problem, but it's still a problem because you have to move from point A to point B at some point, and it's probably going to break during that process. It's just unavoidable. It's very unfortunate, but the feet aren't connected super strongly, but there's not really, from what I can tell, a super easy way to do that. So you end up with something like this every time you try to move the model. Maybe not to this extent because I went a little overboard without being too careful with one hand, but it happens. But on top of that, because everything's broken now, it can be a complete pain to try and fix something like this. Like I think these feet, honestly, I should just glue them on. I think then I wouldn't have a problem, but they just pop right off because they're just not attached in a super strong way, unfortunately. But I'm obviously not as harsh as I would be on an official Lego set for something like this because it's a knockoff for $60 US, and they're not charging that premium price and all that. They're not the ones going around touting that only the best is good enough. So you can give a little leeway there, I feel like, but still ultimately something like this is very disappointing to see. It's something that should be designed in a better way. Do I know that better way? Nope, but it needs to be solved at some point by somebody. Of the two UTATs, that is the common issue, certainly. So I'll go ahead and lift this up so I can, to the best of my ability, hopefully, without breaking it, show you what the bottom side looks like. It's just a bunch of flat plates, really. Again, those clear pieces at the front, of course, to support that heavier front end, but they look really nice, really accurate. It's the proper amount and all that, but they just fall apart so unfortunately easily. So just a big thing to watch out for if you end up buying something like this. Accessing the interior is fairly simple. This entire back panel just pops right off, place it onto the ground, and you've got access to the main rear section. And then the front section here, you've got this that can lift away, and then it gives you some access, but I don't feel like it's enough, so I don't know if it's intentional or not, but I just like to rip this whole piece off, and that gives me the full access to this front interior section too. Not as much interior space as you may imagine though, looking at it, but it's still better than that turbo tank. So in this very front section, we've got a couple of blasters from Star-Lord. You've also got a couple of regular Star Wars style blasters. Even though no minifigs are included, they do include those blasters with the set. And then you've got a green and orange light setup at the back. There's honestly nothing crazy going on in this forward compartment, but let's try to put a minifig in there and see if it will allow us to close the roof. Fairly obviously, standing is going to be a no-go here. That is not going to work. Still can't even sit down and have the roof close all the way. So I think what you have to do is actually literally lay them down, kind of like some of the smaller Lego Star Wars sets these days. But you can lay a character down. Maybe you could fit two characters in there if you try to squeeze them in, but you can at least get one there, which is nice. But I mean, for a lot of people, probably going to wish you could do more given the set is 2,000 pieces, you know? But this back interior section I find to be much more interesting. First off, you got a lot of translucent pieces here, just adding a nice splash of color to the interior, like their little control panels and things, which is nice. You've got some more spots for weapons that are included with the build, and then you've got the little seats for each of your Galactic Marines or whatever characters. But I really don't think, like, it's a really tiny in there. I don't know. So with a Marine seated straight up, there's just no way that's gonna work. You can see his helmet just peeking right over the top. And if we bring this on, there's just, yeah, it's not even gonna come close. That is Really unfortunate to see. So I've got him flipped around here, and if we try to lay him back, that's as far back as he'll go because that grill piece actually stops him from going probably a little bit further back. But let's see if they can at least get in that way, right? I would hope this works. I don't think it's going to, though. No, it's definitely stuck on that. Oh, that is a dang shame. So you literally can't even sit a Marine inside of this. This is more of a UCS set. I mean, they shouldn't have even bothered with an interior. I really don't know why they did. They could have made it much more structurally sound because you gave an interior for figures that literally can't fit. Let's see how far we have to lay this guy down to get him to fit. Let's try that. We will drop that back on. And it's still, no, that might really count. I'm not sure. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's catching at the front end there. So you have to lay it down like that for it to fit, and they can't even use the seats that are included. That is just absurd, right? Like, why bother? It's like they didn't even test the model. Like, that's crazy to me. But I will say, I don't buy something like this custom UTAT with the intention to fill it with a bunch of Galactic Marines. So from that standpoint, if you look at this as perhaps a UCS style set, even though it's not really UCS, but a UCS style set that you're going to put on display and just have look cool, or maybe put in a mock and have it look cool, even though it's not going to interact very well with minifigs, but it's still on a good scale to be next to minifigs, I think it works really well. But if you wanted it to actually put minifigs in, no, why would you buy it for that? It clearly doesn't work well for that. Look, a lot of LEGO's recent insane pricing and their inability to actually make what fans want the way they need it, like a UTAT with Galactic Marines, Commander Bakar, and Ki-Adi-Mundi, the way it always should have been, never should have been anything different, certainly not that tiny tank. Like, that has led me to review and look at sets like this from Mod Bricks, and it's a very compelling purchase at about $100 US shipped all in versus the $160 for the clone tiny tank. And it shows you that LEGO could make much more affordable LEGO Star Wars sets, like, or this could have been like $100, $120 if this is literally $100 all in. You know, it's over 2,000 pieces and this is 800 pieces. Like, you can see just an insane difference there between LEGO and the knockoff brand. Now, there are some obvious things that the knockoff brand isn't going to have to pay, like licensing and things like that, and the packaging isn't as nice. So there are more considerations, but when you look at it just side by side, this might be worth a try for some of you. Like, do you owe anything to LEGO, really, that you want to stay purist? Like, I don't know. This is pretty dang cool looking as a display piece. It's got some issues. The build is not perfect. We went through those in the video. But if you wanted a UTAT from LEGO, and you didn't get one, clearly, we got this thing, which is supposed to break if I do this, right? Let's see. Yep, it broke. So this might be worth looking at for $100. It might just be. This video isn't even sponsored. I'm just completely fed up with LEGO and a lot of the things that they do, and I thought it would be very interesting to take a look at this. I had a couple fans send me messages that this was available on the Blue Bricks website, and I was like, I'm intrigued. Let me buy it and see how good it actually is. And it has flaws, but I think it's very nice to have a, I would say, super affordable UTAT build that looks great versus that which is more expensive and smaller and worse. And yeah, this is a beauty. Seeing these side by side just makes me sad because it's exactly what LEGO should have done to begin with, and the pricing also just, it makes it so obvious that LEGO is overcharging by a crazy amount on their newer LEGO Star Wars Summer 2025 sets. So let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments section below. I think it's a very intriguing potential buy for consumers that wanted a UTAT, that didn't get one, that also want a building block set at an affordable price, that didn't get one. And yeah, I mean, obviously the downside there is you're still not going to have the figures, and that's a whole nother issue for you to solve, I guess. But it's a nice UTAT build that is going to look awesome on a display, especially with a bunch of other Revenge of the Sith sets, so I thought I would take a look at it in a video. If you want to see me take a look at more weird knockoff sets, let me know with a comment down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and you can check out more LEGO Star Wars content on the end screen now.